What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode on The Black Experience, y'all. Welcome back to Season 5. We are in Season 5, in the thick of Season 5. And to everyone that has supported me on this journey, it has been 2 years and a month now. I appreciate you. I never thought I would be doing this 2 years later, but thank you so much for your support. And for all the new listeners, all the new watchers of this episode of The Black Experience, welcome to the journey. Welcome to The Black Experience. I am your host, Ermias Hagos here. And as usual, y'all, I have a very, very special guest with me today. Today, I have someone who is the CEO of DiamondClean Seattle. She is a daughter, she is a sister, and she likes to say that she is a future mentor to people. So let's put our hands together and let's bring up Miss Monique Greene.
Hello, thank you.
How are you?
Good, I'm good. I'm here.
Are you a morning person?
I am a morning person in my home. So I get up early, but I stay in my home until like 11.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So typically, let's say you wake up at what, 7, 8 a.m., something like that?
Yeah, I wake up like 7, 8 a.m., kind of have a slow morning, work on my computer, coffee, breakfast, have a little dog, take care of him, and then I venture out at 11.
I like that.
Ahead of that, I'm always like,
No, I think that's really cool. I'm trying to be a morning person. Let's just say I typically wake up 8:30, 9, because I usually work in the evenings.
Okay.
But I want to push it, scale it back. But then that also means I gotta start sleeping earlier.
Yeah, you have to get to sleep early, and that's my problem. I actually go to sleep really late and then wake up early. That's why I don't like to go out in the world until like 11.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I mean, this has been an honor, and it's gonna be fun. I remember we met at the Halloween party here at Colors.
Yeah. We had a Halloween party.
And your business, I didn't even know it was your business.
Yeah.
But you guys were kind of running the event, a little bartending on the side.
Yeah.
How'd you feel like that event came together?
Yeah, so we partnered with Color Studio and then No Negativity Media, and we were like, let's do a Halloween like happy hour mixer on actual Halloween, because we were like, oh, this is a perfect, people will get off work, they'll come, pop in, have a couple drinks, hang out, and then go on to their nighttime festivities, because it was like a 6 to 10 situation.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I think it was really great. Got to meet lovely people, like new faces, a lot of like people who I didn't know before, just because I live in Bellevue and I don't really come out to Seattle too much, so I'm not really connected with all of like the artists and like, the people who live in Seattle, the people who live in Seattle. So it was a really cool like opportunity to like network and meet new faces, which was awesome.
Yeah. And again, like I've only been a member here a month, and so that's why I came so early, because I didn't know what to expect. I came fashionably late, like 20 minutes late. And y'all were still setting up.
Right. I was like, oh, you're like the first one here. Welcome. People don't usually show up till like 8:30. Hi.
No, yeah, the same thing happened at there was like a mixer that happened a few days ago, and I came early again. But it's really cool because you network with the people that are there early.
Yeah, and that are like putting it on.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, like the actual, and sometimes it's hard to like, while the event is going on, to network with the people who are actually putting it on. So it's almost good to come up early, I think.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. No, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. But Monique, let's start off a little bit talking about your background a little bit, if you want to tell us where you're from and then kind of what the journey looked like coming here to Seattle or Bellevue, where you live now.
Yeah. So born in Washington, raised in Washington. I grew up in Gig Harbor. So my parents actually still live there. And then I moved to Seattle for UW. So I went to UW Seattle. And then...
Go Dogs?
Go Dogs, which is funny because my brother actually went to Wazoo. So it's like we had a little
there's a rivalry there. Yeah.
in the home. And then basically, I want to say like my sophomore or junior year, I decided Seattle's great, but it was just a little too busy for me, so I moved to Bellevue. So I've been in Bellevue now for, I want to say like 6 or 7 years, like 6 years. Yeah, like about 6 years. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of, still born and raised here. Like, I say I'm from Seattle because, like, I do a lot of business in Seattle, and, like, most of my clients are in Seattle. But I live in Bellevue, so I always have to factor in, like, traffic and driving into Seattle.
Traffic this morning.
Traffic this morning was not it. This is why I don't leave my home before 11, because I miss all the morning traffic. And then I try to head home before 3 to miss the evening traffic. So,
And that's a whole nother thing itself. Yeah.
No, it's not good. The traffic is getting so bad. There's so many people moving in, which is great though. It's like great for the community and just jobs and stuff. But yeah, it's a lot of traffic.
Oh, 100%. And that's why people are complaining about the prices too, because they're going up because they're trying to people like slow down. You know, don't all y'all can't come here.
I know, and it's like so it's crazy because like I've lived in my complex for 6 years. So, I moved in at a good time. So I actually had 2 places for 3 months when I moved to Bellevue. I had one in Seattle while I was going to school because we already paid out the lease, and then I had a place in Bellevue, so I get to slowly move stuff over. But I signed my lease in November, and historically in November, people are not signing leases. So I got a really amazing rate. And my rate has only ever gone up like between $80 to $100 a year.
Wow.
So I have I have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and I have a killer rate versus other people who like come in who want, you know, my same space. Like they're paying like $3,000 versus I'm paying like $2,200.
So you suggest people to sign in November? Is that the theme here?
Yeah, November, like October, November, like off months, and then like also look at like the school calendar year because you'll have better like they do better like promotions and stuff.
I bet.
Oh yeah.
I bet. I think the coolest lease I've ever had was 3 years ago. In 2021, it was a 6-month lease because we were online. I was in college still.
Okay.
And so from January to July of 2021, we somehow found a 6-month lease.
Oh, those are like so random too. Because like usually they're like, oh, it's got to be like 8, 9, 12, or 15. Yeah.
So I think they made a COVID exception because they kind of had to because not a lot of people were going back. And this is in Bellingham too, all the way up north.
Wow. Okay,
so
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're up north. Oh, so you're fighting traffic.
Oh, I was fighting traffic this morning.
Oh yeah, you're like fighting for your life to come into Seattle. Oh God.
Again, like I was telling you, like the GPS was like you'll get there 9:30. It went 9:40, 9:45. I'm like, y'all are pushing it, man.
Yeah, like, what is going on here?
But Monique, I think the coolest thing about you that I noticed from your Instagram page at least is the fact that you come from a culturally diverse background. I mean, you're Black. You're Mexican, you're Korean, and you're Native.
Yes.
I mean, like, just kind of having a blend of everything, I guess, how did that kind of shape who you are today and kind of make who Monique is?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because people are always like, oh, so who's who? And I'm like, okay, so my mom is half Black, half Korean, and, like, her family is from Korea. And then my dad is half Black, quarter Mexican, quarter Native. So me and my siblings were half Black too, because both our parents are half. So I try to explain like, oh, everybody in my family is half. They're like, no, and I'm like, yes, like yes, we're all half, which is really funny, and kind of different because most people have like one parent that's predominantly Black or white or Mexican or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So growing up, we had a melting pot. So lots of good food, lots of traditions, right? I remember my growing up, like for my Sweet 16, my dad was like, wait, aren't we doing a quinceañera? And my mom's like, wait, no. And there was like this whole like, wait, what are we doing here? Like she's 15, do we throw a party or do we wait till she's 16? And so, you know, we got to kind of like pick and choose, which was really cool. Like our parents are very open, and the one thing I wish my parents did was teach us the languages, because then I would know 3 languages, but I don't. I only know how to cook, so that's good. So it was really interesting growing up. Also being, you know, that diverse, and then growing up in Gig Harbor, which is a predominantly white community.
Yeah.
I just remember like me and my siblings, like we were like one of 3 Black kids in the school.
Wow.
And we were like, they were like, tell us, you know, speak for the Black community. And we're like, we're half, like, and we're like so many other things too. Like, what? So growing up, it was very, I don't think I really like found my own and my like true identity until I like went to Seattle and like went to UW, just because, you know, there was a lot of like racism that I didn't know when I was growing up. And like we wouldn't have known that because of the community we were in. So we thought it was like normal. And then only when I went to UW and there was like so many different ethnicities, so many different groups and advocates and stuff like that, was I able to say like, oh, wow, like, yeah, that nickname wasn't actually a good nickname. Or like, oh, they were kind of being mean to us and poking fun.
It was like
at
subtle.
Subtle,
bullying,
like, you know, our hair and like, you know, the way we like, you know, our nose and the stuff like that. So I was like, oh, okay, you know, but I didn't realize until actually I went to Seattle. So it was like eye-opening, but I had a great childhood and grew up, you know, I didn't, you know, we didn't know anything until Seattle, but it was great. Like, you know, my parents still live in Gig Harbor, and Gig Harbor's changed a lot now.
Has it?
Yeah, it's way more diverse, which is really amazing, I think, personally. So,
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I've never been to Gig Harbor, but I know one guy, when I ran cross country in high school, and he got like 4th in the race, super fast guy, and he had like Gig Harbor, and I was like, I've never heard of Gig Harbor before. I don't know, where is that? East, west, where is that?
It's interesting the amount of people who I'm like, oh, Gig Harbor, like they either know it or they're like, where is this?
Yeah.
Like this offlandish world.
Show me on the map.
Yeah,
pretty much.
The reason why is because so most people know Tacoma. Gig Harbor is across the Narrows Bridge. So you have to cross the bridge.
So you cross the bridge, and Gig Harbor's right there.
And Gig Harbor's right over the bridge. But it's a toll bridge. So you actually have to pay to go across the bridge. You have to pay $10 to
Man, this Gig Harbor better be worth it.
It is very quiet, serene, safe. And I just remember, like, some of my greatest memories, obviously, growing up were the community. So, for example, I remember when we first moved there, my mom, she really likes books, right? And it's me, and I have 2 siblings, and we're all young. Like, I think I moved there when we were 8, from Washington still, but just, like, moved to our family home when I was 8. We went to a bookstore, and, you know, everything is very, like, mom and pop style, so they only deal in cash. And my mom's like, oh, I have a card. Let me go to the ATM so I can purchase these, like, 3 books. And I just remember the bookstore owner was like, oh, no, it's okay. Don't worry. You'll be back for the next 2 in the series. And I was like, oh, that's the first moment that I realized that Gig Harbor is a very close-knit community. So, you know, it's a very small community. It's very trusting. Like, you can leave your cars unlocked, your doors unlocked. I don't think my family ever, like, locked their vehicles growing up. It was very trusting, very safe, you know, and that was really good. And then I came to Seattle, and I was like, ooh, this is way different, you know? Yeah, so Gig Harbor was great. Like, I think Gig Harbor was great in the sense of building that, like, suburb community for me, you know? And I think that's why I live in Bellevue now, because it's very, like, similar, like, you know, safe, quiet. You can still get to where you want to get to.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Especially with Seattle has a, you know, homelessness issue, drug issue, crime issue. I mean, everything. It's got a lot of problems to address. So
yeah,
absolutely.
And I think being like young people and like young women, that kind of might deter them from living in Seattle. So I hope like we can get it addressed. You know?
I hope so too. Yeah, I do hope so too. Yeah. I have hope. I mean, I've been here, 20 years now. I was born in Africa, but growing up here, I mean, Seattle, I've seen it change so much, and you can't even go to downtown. Like my mom and I, we used to go to downtown to visit my dad for work, you know, grab pizza and then come back home. And now it's like 3rd and Pike especially is like the worst, man.
And like do the flower thing. Like Seattle used to be the place where it's like, oh, it's a treat to go up to Seattle and like, you know, the family, and you spend the whole day there, and like you go get the flowers and you walk around, and it's like, I don't even want to walk around because like, you know, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. So I like to do Seattle things during the day.
And then go straight back to Bellevue.
when the sun drops down, I'm like,
yeah. I think a question that came up for me was, amidst your cultural diversity and growing up in Gig Harbor, a place that was predominantly white but safe and tight-knit community, what was kind of like the making friends like making friends, like was that easy to kind of find your friend group, or if you did, was it diverse, was it not diverse?
So yes and no, right? It was, so me and my family, we were very big on like extracurricular activities like clubs and sports. So I always did like cheer and dance and like competitive sports and clubs and things like that. So for me, when you do those activities, you are basically given groups of friends, right? Because you're all doing this one activity and you build this bond, you know, like if you're cheerleading, you build this bond through practice and a common goal you're trying to achieve, right? Versus I think only until I was like a senior did I start to like make friends with other schools and things. So there's two main high schools in Gig Harbor. But then like when I was a senior, I started having friends who were in schools like in Tacoma, right? Because they also had way more fun at their parties. They had way more activities going on. It was just like way more lit. And I was like, oh man, I need to be friends with those guys. But the problem was like this bridge thing, right? So it was like, okay, toll bridge, got to go to Tacoma. So we need to make sure that like there's an activity to do in Tacoma, and then we have to come back across the toll bridge. So sometimes it was hard for like our friends who lived in Tacoma to come to Gig Harbor because they were like, no, we're not paying a $6 toll bridge to hang out for 2 hours, you know, and the gas and this and that. And I was like, oh my God. So it was good. I mean, I was given a group of friends, I think, through my extracurriculars. And then only when I started, you know, when I moved up to Seattle did I really like branch out and get, you know, find my tribe, if you will. My people, you know.
Yeah. So you mentioned Seattle a lot, and I'm curious, I guess, your business, diamondcleanSEA, where did, I guess, how did that start? Because I'm assuming you might have came to Seattle and then found your inspiration there, but tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, okay, basically, diamondcleanSEA and then diamondcleanSEA staffing, they were created during COVID. So I actually started my businesses in 2021, February of 2021. And basically, like, the world was shut down. We all had so much time on our hands to think about things. Mind you, when I came to Seattle, that's when I started, like, bartending, serving, working with a catering company. And then, you know, obviously while I was going to school, right, because I needed to make money on weekends and stuff like that. And then basically I was like, oh, there's a need for cleaning, and I'm super OCD. So Diamond Clean SEA, that's the airport code for Seattle. So I was like, this is great because we're in COVID. Everybody needs to, you know, cleaners and stuff, right? And then I was like, what else am I good at? Well, I'm good at like bartending, serving, like brand ambassador, because these are all roles that I've personally done.
Right.
So I was like, oh, well, why don't I just create like another layer to this business and like the staffing side? And it took off. Like it just blew up. And I was like, oh, okay, like I guess this is my path now, which is really interesting because I personally never thought that I would be a business owner. Like,
really?
Yeah. So
you seem like a business owner.
Now I've had to learn and grow and pivot. But growing up, I was always the one where I wanted to be a lawyer. So I actually went to school to be a lawyer. At UW, I studied law. So
wow.
I was actually studying for my LSAT when I created my business. And the thing about it was I was like, oh, I'm not going to pay $56,000 a year to go sit on a computer because the world is shut down to be an attorney, right? So let me just wait and kind of like, you know, I went more corporate. I worked, I worked for a law firm for a little bit. So I did like a legal assistant and stuff like that. And then I worked as a personal assistant to a CEO in Bellevue.
Wow.
And
so you must have really great connections.
I think that's part of the reason why my business grew so much. But I started as I was like studying for the LSAT and the world was kind of shut down, you know, and you could work from home, you know, doing administrative stuff, right? I started working for these bigger companies, and like the last company I worked for was like Sonobello, right? So I did some stuff with them. All I was kind of like, there's a need for this cleaning, and let me just try this out, right? Let me just like do the documents and see what happens. And then, you know, the world opened back up, and they're like, oh, now you can go back to work, like in person. So I went back to work in person at Sonobello, and then all of a sudden, my cleaning company just was like busy. And we specialized in Airbnbs. And like, if you know Airbnbs, like the turning windows between 11 and 3, and I'm at work, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I got this business that's doing really well on the cleaning side, right? Because people were still like, COVID-y.
Oh yeah.
For like events.
6
and
feet.
stuff. Right,
Yeah,
right, right.
all that.
But the cleaning really like held it down, because it's like, oh, they like people are very particular now about cleaning, and I'm super OCD, so it's perfect. And you know, the girls that I had hired in the beginning to kind of like do the Airbnbs and stuff, they just were not like, they were not the type of girls that I think were dialed in enough for this type of work. So I was like, let me just take a leap, right?
Boom.
Quit my 9 to 5, went all in on my business, and I've just been doing it ever since. I think I quit my 9 to 5 August of 2021. And
Wow.
I have just been like, you know, one, being like owner operator for the first like year and a half, 2 years. And then last year really was when I was able to find a really, really good team, both on my cleaning and staffing side, to where I don't have to be at every event, nor do I have to work every event. And now I can just like watch and like see the magic happen,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
Yeah. So I mean, that's incredible. I mean, you built an empire. You were a successful and especially the financial kind of independence and kind of freedom and just being able to like get away from that 9 to 5. Because I mean, a lot of people don't want to work their 9 to 5 for 40 years. You know, they're like, hey man, I kind of want some freedom eventually, but they just don't know where to start or even how to find that passion or that why. You know? But
I feel like I didn't just like kamikaze quit my 9 to 5. Like, let's be clear. I didn't just like on a whim quit it, right? What I did was I made sure that I saved at least 3 to 6 months for my lifestyle, right? And that's like rent, if I like to go out to movies, get my nails done, hair, take trips, shop, whatever, right? Uber Eats, things like that, groceries, gas. So I saved up between 3 to 6 months to where my lifestyle would not change. Now, of course, I did change my lifestyle. I scaled it back. I was not going out to eat all the time. I was not traveling, nor was I like getting my nails and hair done and all of this stuff, all the extras. But I was able to have this like fund essentially that I self-created and saved to start my business. So I felt comfortable taking that risk and quitting my 9 to 5. So I would always like, if people want to pivot, which I think there comes a time when your business starts doing well and you see like, oh, I could either go all in and it will do really well, or I'm just gonna like stay here because my 9 to 5 is security. You are going into an unsecure world with entrepreneurship.
Oh yeah.
But if you save and you plan, I think you do well, you know? And then you just have to believe in yourself, I think. So for me, no one can talk about my business and like believe in my business as much as I can, right? So for me, I think the reason why I was able to get so many like clients and people and like do well just so quickly is because I'm passionate about it. Like I really care about the cleaning, and I also really care about the staffing, and like my clients can see that, you know? And then if I'm bought in, they're bought in.
Then they're going to be bought in, yeah.
Whereas if you half do it, it's like, are you even certain of your own business?
They can sense it. People can sense fakeness in that 100%. And I mean, it kind of reminds me of that saying that says like, you got to be your best customer. Yeah. You know, like, you know, for example, for me on this podcast, it's like, if I'm not listening to my podcast, if I'm not bought in with my podcast, then people would see it and be like, are you really enjoying what you're doing? But, you know, I think even me, myself, I've surprised myself too with like how passionate I am to just talk with people like this. But that's really impressive. And that 3 to 6 months, I've been doing a lot of, I just got out of college in June. And I've been doing a lot of research for like financial advice from people, and people have been saying like have an emergency fund, have that 3 to 6 months of expenses for, you know, for anything that might happen. So.
It's super important. And I think like a lot of people live like paycheck to paycheck and day to day, and just like they don't plan and structure their finances. And I think that is one issue that I luckily had the benefit of knowing this before I started my business, because I did work for those CEOs and in those big companies. So I got to see it firsthand and like be in the meetings where they structured stuff. So for me, I had that knowledge, but I think it's super important, like for any entrepreneur at any stage to, if you are unsure, like to go out and ask someone and like, you know, get help and like see.
It's not a weakness, right?
No,
to ask for help.
Absolutely not. It's not a weakness. Plus also, like you were saying with your podcast, right? When I met you and you were telling me about this podcast, I was bought in because of the way that you came and approached me about
Really?
it. Yes. Like you were telling me about it and I was like, oh, I love this. I think this is so cool. Like I want to be a part of it. Can I be on it? And it's because of like your demeanor and how you talk about it and you speak about it, and I can see the passion and like, you know, the lights in your eyes when you talk about it. And that's like super important. And that's how you also get other like businesses or investors involved when they see that you are super passionate and have that drive.
100%. Yeah. Sponsorships and all that good stuff. Yeah. Now, for any entrepreneur, let's say someone's listening to this and they're like, okay, cool. Let's say I want to kind of start pivoting to get rid of my 9 to 5 eventually, maybe in 5 years, 10 years, whatever, 3 months, whatever. With entrepreneurship and business comes challenges. With anything in life comes challenges. From your experience, I guess, how have you been able to tackle challenges? Because I'm sure, like, coming up with the business and getting it to this point wasn't just, you know, cakewalk.
Yeah. So for me, my motto is always fail fast. Like, fail fast, right? If you are too scared to take an opportunity because you're going to fail or whatever, by the time you finally get to do that opportunity, there's probably 3 other people who have already done it and now they're successful because they've made the mistakes, figured out, tweaked it, and then ran with the idea.
And ran with it.
That was us. That was me. Like, I am not afraid to fail, right? I'm afraid to not try. So for me, I would rather try something, see if it works. Okay, you know, not everything is going to work in your favor. Some deals don't go through. Some clients don't go through, things like that. Some employees don't work out. But if you're able to analyze the situation, get the knowledge, and then pivot quickly, you'll be successful.
Yeah.
It's about being quick. Like, you have to be able to pivot and do it fast, because if you take too long, there will be someone else who comes in behind you and does it.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And even there's a podcast called Patrick Bet David. I don't know if you know him, but he millions of subscribers. He made a video about moving quickly, and that being a one trait that separates, you know, people that win and people that lose. Where he was on a call, and after getting off the call with one person, the person ended up calling his assistant the very next second to set up that call.
Oh, wow.
Versus a person, the other example was the person was like, yeah, call me after New Year's or whatever. And so the difference between those two being the other guy's going to get it done as soon as possible, and he shows an interest, versus the other one that's like going to do it in a month or something like that, or after the holidays. And you got to move quick.
You have to move fast. Plus, it's also like, okay, when you go to a networking event, right, and you get people's information and, you know, like, you chop it up with them, I always like to reach out immediately after, because one, you're fresh in their mind, and then, like you were saying, you can set something up. Like, I feel like that's what we did here too. Like, I met you.
We did that, yeah.
And it was fresh in my mind, and then we set something up. Even if it wasn't like immediately right the next week, right? We got to figure out schedules.
Right.
But it's like, because you're quick on it, it's fresh in someone's mind versus like if you would have waited until January, I'd have been like, wait, what? Like,
Monique
what
would have been like,
who's
this Hermes guy?
Right. I'd have been like, oh, wait, I don't remember. Because now I've already done so many other events and met so many other people that are more just at the forefront of my mind.
Oh, 100%.
I think it's so important to be quick.
Yeah. From your experience being the CEO of DiamondClean, you know, you've probably worked with a lot of different personalities and different people, you know, and people come with different backgrounds and stuff. I guess, how have you been able to kind of work with all kinds of people and attitudes and moods that people come with, and how have you been able to, like, what did that teach you, I guess, about people in general?
I think for me, my thing is, okay, so I'm a Sagittarius. Let me get all like astrology on you. So I'm a Sagittarius. So for me, I like to, people always think it's standoffish, but I'm more quiet because I'm like observing. I like to observe first and then move, right? Like, because I like to know what I'm kind of dealing with before I start moving around and whatever. So for me, if I have a client, I like to engage with them and just like let them do most of the talking. Let them tell me their ideas, their plan, how they want things executed. If it's, you know, a staffing client, how their vision, or if it's a clean client, what is important to them. Like, oh, for me, floors are really important, or I really care about the chrome and the mirrors. This is all stuff that allows me to be like, okay, I know now how to move forward and operate to get the best out of this person, right? And to set expectations, because my thing, I'm really big on expectations with my clients and things like that. But in terms of like employees, all of my contract employees have very different personalities. And my thing is, I like to take them out one-on-one, like to a lunch or dinner, or just hang out with them to really see and get to know them, because genuinely I care about them. And I think if they see that I care about them, they will care about me, and they will do a good job for my business, because now we have that relationship and that trust. And then now that I know them and I care about them, me personally, I like to set people up for success. I don't like to just send people into Dragon Slayer. So I see what their strengths are and maybe where they have some weaknesses, and I like to make sure I'm putting them in positions to win, right? So, for example, we do a lot of different types of events: weddings, day parties, club events. Not everybody's cut out to be a bottle girl, right? Not everyone is cut out to be a hostess and deal with high volume. Not everyone is cut out to do a wedding, like super professional, right? Just based on their personality and their demeanor and things like that. They may be better suited for like more of a day party or a club versus like a very professional or high profile event. So me being able to get to know my team, my clients, anyone who I'm around, then I'm able to essentially, one, set expectations, but also help them and pivot to get the best out of them in any scenario. Clients or you know, contractors.
So you're pretty much putting people over profits.
And
you're like, if my people do well, then the money will come in.
Exactly, because the thing about it is the money comes in when you are able to give your client exactly what they wanted. So for example, I have had so many repeat clients just by staffing the right person. Like, I'll tell you, when I first started, right, my brother, my sister, and my mom, very, very like staples in my business. When I very first started, they were helping me with everything. Like, my mom was cleaning with me, my sister, my brother, they were doing the staffing, my brother's bartending, stuff like that. My brother did a baby baptism party. He was bartending it. One, I know he has an amazing personality, and, you know, he's just very like outgoing, and people like love that about him, right? He's very easy to talk to, very likable personality, right? Versus me, I'm very like same thing, but I'm a little more like not gonna put up with too much, and I'm gonna just get the job done. I'm not gonna rah too much unless you're my friend, right? So for me, I was like, let's staff my brother for this. He's gonna bartend. Because I staffed the right person for that baby baptism, We then booked a 3-day wedding with them the following year.
Wow.
It was a 500-person 3-day wedding.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were like, we just love the energy, and he like talked about your business and the family business like so well that we were just like, oh my God, we gotta meet this girl and we gotta have her do our wedding staffing. And how amazing. That was my first ever wedding.
Oh, man.
They trusted me and my baby business with like the most important day for them. It was so cool.
How did it turn out?
Oh, amazing. Oh my God. And then at that point I had a team, right? So I had other bartenders working the events too. Everybody made so much money. Everybody was happy. My client was so happy. And now the client has referred me to other clients as well as booked with us again.
Wow.
Yeah. So
wow, congratulations.
it's about like,
yeah.
my business is on the sole purpose of like knowing my customers and my clients' needs and then matching up perfectly with my team.
Kind of
right?
meeting there. Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah,
that
it
is
was
incredible.
really cool. That was like one of the experiences where I was like, ooh, this really does work. Hold on.
Yeah. From all the events that you've done up to this point, do you have like a fan favorite? Do you have like a favorite that stands in mind? You're like, man, I'll never forget that event.
Yes. Okay. So we did a wedding when we first started. We were actually reached out to by the bride. She's a florist here. She owns a florist business, and she works with all the big names in the industry and stuff like that. And then her event planner, Events by Genevieve. I got to work with these two on a beautiful wedding. It was like a page out of Pinterest. They had, I want to say, like 27 different vendors, very curated. Everything was beautiful because obviously, like the bride, she's done so many weddings before, you know, doing the flowers and things like that. So she was able to just curate a beautiful wedding, executed beautifully. All the vendors were amazing, top of the line, top tier. That wedding actually ended up getting published in Brides, which was really cool. Yeah, it was so amazing. It was so beautiful. And then we actually got like accredited as like the staffing team for that wedding, which was like, whoa. Yeah. That is a wedding that will never like leave my mind. Like it was just so beautiful. Everybody was so nice, and all the vendors somehow worked perfectly together. Like everything was seamless. I was like, whoa. You know, when you're dealing with a lot of people, it's always like, it's all gonna make sense. And honestly, major props to Genevieve, so Events by Jen, because she curated like the whole thing and managed everything beautifully.
That is incredible.
And now those two are like one of my biggest clients. Like Jen, she's like one of my biggest like wedding clients. So we do a lot of weddings with her now. So it's really, really awesome.
Are there any upcoming weddings that you're gonna be doing?
I think we just got a wedding season's kind of over for us.
It is kind of over. Yeah. It's winter season now.
It's a little winter season. But we did get a request for something. I want to say it's like in March, so of next year. So we are already, planning our 2025 season. So
man, cheers to you. Cheers to you and your business. You guys are growing.
Yeah.
Monique, what is your dream in life?
Oh my God. I think my dream is my dream's pivoted a little bit. I think my dream is, one, to be successful and to take care of my family. That's always number one. I would love to be able to retire my mom. My dad's already retired, but I would love to be able to retire my mom. And then my thing is, I want to make a difference in the world and show people that, like, just because you're young, just because maybe you were not born into wealth, or just because things don't always line up, or maybe you've have a troubled past, or you've gotten in trouble for, or whatever, like, you can still make it. Like, you are in charge of your own story, right? And you really just have to take anything that happens to you and just move forward. So for me, my goal, my dream is to, if I can just like change one person to believe that they can just, like, even if they were dealt the bad hand, they can play that hand, because we're playing poker. You're playing the person. You're not playing, the house or whatever. So if you can play your cards, and even though it's not the best, you can still make it. Like, you can still do it, so.
That is such a good word. And I feel like, I need that, but also so many people today need that, because you were talking a little bit about COVID. COVID, that isolation period, was the end of my freshman year, and it was all online.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so transformative because it allowed me to kind of come out of my shell and just go after the things that I want to. But I do feel like, too, at the same time, like that isolation period did allow some people were kind of, mental health struggles, self-esteem struggles. So for you to say that I'm sure anyone hearing this is inspired.
Yeah, COVID was a time. It was kind of weird.
It was a crazy time.
Like, it was like some people thrived, and then some people did not do well at all. I graduated during COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, so I graduated 2020.
Yeah, that was my freshman year.
Yeah, it was horrible because I didn't get to walk.
Goodness.
And then they were like, come back the next year.
To walk or to do the school
To
part?
walk.
Okay. You didn't do it?
Didn't walk. No, you couldn't walk on 2021. So then they're like, come back the next year. I was like, nah. We ain't doing all that.
It's been 2 years.
It's been 2 years. I ain't doing all that.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So amidst everything that you've talked about, your experiences and stuff, anyone that, let's say, wants to pursue, let's say, entrepreneurship, that's hearing this, that want to pursue a similar journey to you or even their own path, what advice would you give to that person?
I would say just start. Like, that's it. Like, just start. Like, don't overthink it too much, because if you start overthinking, you're not going to start. When you do like a list of like pros, cons, and you're like, oh, I don't have the funding yet, or it's not quite right, or will anyone like this, or maybe I need to do some more research, or let me, it's not the right time, maybe I gotta wait till next year. All those things are gonna just set you back, right? So for me, just start. Like, just as Nike would say, just do it. Right?
Yeah.
You have to just do it, because you will learn as you grow. Like, I now, own a successful business, like, 2 branches of a successful business, and like we just opened up our headquarters. But the amount of like learning and like creating SOPs and learning even how do I go into these meetings and talk to these big brands and allow them to work with us? How do I, approach new clients? How do I even get the right team members, like the right people who want to, work with us and work for us? All those things came from me just starting.
Yeah.
Making mistakes and then learning from the mistakes. Like, you cannot make a mistake and then keep doing it over and over again. So you got to learn from it. But
that's insanity.
Just do it, right? It's insanity. So just do it, just start, and then learn from your mistakes and pivot quickly. And ask for help. Like, honestly, anytime that I have ever had a question, I've been able to ask for help. Like, get a mentor, right? Or people in business that you look up to, right? I remember when we were looking at our headquarters office, it's up in Bothell, it was like in the 2x4s. Like, it looked crazy. Now it looks beautiful, but it looked crazy. When we went to go look at it, I actually invited one of my clients to come look at it with me, because he does a lot of development and real estate and stuff like that. And I was like, what do you think? Like, honestly, what do you think? Do you think this is a good idea? And he was like, honestly, he gave me some of the best advice. He was like, 1, it's going to take this much to make it be what you want to be. So you're going to have to make sure you are prepared to spend this much money. And 2, whatever you do, just don't make, this headquarters the hangout place. Make sure you can cultivate good business in it, and just, 1, turn a profit and make it a launching pad for your expansion, right? Don't let it be the hangout place, the kick it place, right? So these are things that like someone who I admire in business gave me, because I just went out, did it, and then asked, So I would say anyone who is trying to be an entrepreneur, get your plan together. Get your, savings together first. And
get that 3 to 6 months savings in.
Get that 3 to 6 months savings in. And then just execute. Just do it. And then learn from the mistakes quickly. And also just ask for help. There's a lot of people who are successful who want to see you thrive. It's crazy. Like, there is not one successful
100%.
person that I know who I have gone to for advice or for mentorship who have just been like, no, I'm not going to help you. No, there is enough. There's enough for everybody. We're not crabs in a barrel. There is enough for everybody to win. And a real successful person has that mindset as well.
Yeah. And they're so willing. If I had to assume, they're so willing to help because they've been through their own journey and they know where you're at.
They're so willing to help. I have now she's like one of my good girlfriends that I confide into and everything like that. We actually did a job for her. She owns a very successful marketing company, and she's based, I want to say, in Texas. So she works with all like Fortune 500 companies like Amex and just like Coca-Cola and all these big companies. She does more brand ambassador work, right? I was able to go to her recently because we are about to sign a big deal with one of our, it's kind of in the works, in the making, but we're about to sign a big deal with a very high profile and notable company. And I asked her,
you're not going to reveal it, are you?
Not this time. Maybe if you invite me back, and then I'll have good news to share. We're about to do a deal with them. And, I asked her, like, hey, what do you think about this? How do I prepare for this meeting and just the plan or whatever? And she's like, listen, I want you to make more money. I actually want you to charge more for your services because they're amazing. And there's enough for everybody. And I was like, oh, but like I'm young. And like, she's like maybe 2 or 3 years older than me. And I'm like, oh, but I'm young. I'm not like, they're like, this company is like the top company. Like, if you're like, wow, yeah, this is like the most luxury company that I would want to work with in this field. How do I talk to them about this? Why would they even want to work with me? She's like, listen, there's enough for everybody. They want to work with you. You're young, you're innovative, you have great ideas, and you know how to capture audience. So run with that and be confident. And she's like, and since they wanted to have the meeting with you, she's like, let them do a lot of the talking. Present them with your plan or whatever, but let them do most of the talking so you can see where they're at.
Man.
And I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
And then it went well. So, yeah.
Yeah, it worked out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of advice to me because, me also being, 24 right now and being kind of still new with this podcast thing, I'm taking those strides and just being like, okay, let's say if I do get a sponsorship with a big company, a Starbucks somewhere, to be confident in my product and
100%.
be in. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be confident, show confident, and then also be prepared, right? Like, you're not just gonna go to the meeting like, like you want to have like a document to give
100%.
them and be prepared, but be confident in your prices and like your negotiations too. And I will say a lot of people get scared of like negotiations. I love negotiations and I love contracts because that means someone wants to work with you when they want to like go back and forth on negotiations and contracts.
Isn't there a book called The Art of Negotiation, something like that? I don't know. Are you a reader yourself?
I'm a reader. I do more like leadership books and stuff like that. But
okay.
I'm
there might
sure
be.
there probably is.
There probably is something like that. But
yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. Well, Monique, I appreciate you sharing all those golden nuggets with us. Before we close out, is there any last minute shout outs, upcoming events, projects, social media, anything that you want to throw out there?
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so we actually do have a wine and design experience this month. It is in partnership with No Negativity Media, and we have a lovely artist who's going to do a 2-hour like painting session, which is just going to be really cool. And it's also in our headquarters office, which will allow us an amazing networking opportunity, but also just allow us to create a space for people to create and be and thrive, and also just, let us show you like, who we are in the community, right? So that's coming up. You can find us on social media. It's DiamondCleanSEA. I know everybody's like C. It is C, but it's SEA.
Short for Seattle.
Yeah, it's short for Seattle, but SEA is actually an airport code. So,
Because SeaTac Airport.
yeah,
Yeah,
SEA.
right.
So, we'll actually be expanding next year to
Oh,
San
man.
Francisco. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then it will be Diamond Clean SFO and Diamond Clean SFO staffing. So that will always change where we go, right? Because that's airport code.
Yeah.
So find us on social media, find us on TikTok. And then just give us a follow and stay up to date with us. And then we will be having, so we did a soft launch of our space, but we will be having a grand big opening in January. I know everybody's like, January. It's because we didn't want to compete with the holidays. And I was like, I'm not doing that. We're running up too close to Thanksgiving and Christmas and my birthday, so I'm not, and New Year's, so I'm not doing that. So we will be having a grand opening in January, like mid-January. So kind of like stay tuned for that. Make sure you give us a follow and get on our mailing list so we can send you an invite.
Thank you, Monique. Thank you so much. Y'all heard her, the successful CEO of DiamondClean SEA. Hope y'all enjoyed this awesome episode and took some golden nuggets from it, because I definitely did, and I learned some stuff. So stay tuned for more awesome episodes as Season 5 rolls on. Until next time, y'all. Peace. What is up, y'all? Thank you so much for tuning in to that episode. Make sure to click the subscribe, follow button, as well as the bell to get notified on all my new content that is coming out every Wednesday and every other day. And make sure to click that link in the description down below to get access to all my socials and any other platforms that I have my podcast on. And until next time, y'all, peace.